Waitstaff, what's the most convoluted order you've ever taken? I always feel bad for the waitress when out to dinner with my mother-in-law. I swear just ordering a glass of water with ice ends up being difficult. Oh, your omelets have 3 eggs? Can you make mine with 1.5? No yolk, just replace the 1.5 yolks with some extra egg white. I swear to frickin' God, I had a woman ask for egg whites, then insist on getting a discount because she wasn't eating the whole egg. If anything, she should be charged extra for wasting egg parts. Not necessarily a convoluted order, but I think it still fits here. I work at a from-scratch Italian restaurant. Had a guy come in with his wife and sit at the bar on a busy Saturday night. He informed me he was following the TB12 diet from Tom Brady's new diet and exercise book, and had very strict dietary restrictions because of this. He sent me back and forth to the kitchen no less than 7 times to verify the chef that his dinner order would have no iodized salt, sugar, olive oil, gluten, peppers, or tomatoes. He ended up with a plain piece of fish and some vegetables. We were getting slammed, but I still tried to keep my patience and accommodate the guy the best I could, even though doing so was putting me in the weeds. After dinner, I asked if they'd like anything else, and don't you know, this guy orders himself a bread pudding, very much filled with forbidden gluten and sugar, and eats the whole thing. He just goes, "Well, I mean, you have to allow yourself a treat every now and again." I died a little more inside. Yeah, he was off that diet by the end of the week, guaranteed. Kinda sounds like he was never on it to begin with. Some confusion arose once because a customer wanted a plain cheeseburger. Brought a cheeseburger with no toppings or condiments. She was very upset. Turns out she wanted a hamburger. My husband has this problem a lot, but opposite. He asks for a plain cheeseburger, and they always bring him a hamburger. We've started saying a plain cheeseburger with cheese. I previously worked at a wing shop. Guy calls and asks for 24 mild traditional wings. He then proceeds to ask for them to be fried twice. No big deal, that's pretty common. He also wants them covered in Mexican shredded cheese, put in the microwave for 30 seconds, drizzled with mayonnaise, and wants his side of fries placed on the wings rather than in a separate container, and demanded the wings be in a pool of mild sauce, which was just short of overflowing the container. Finally, he requested to have pickle juice squeezed lightly across the top of everything. Obviously, all the waiters, cooks, and waitresses thought this was disgusting, but we'd never smelled something so amazing come from the kitchen in our lives. Did not taste as pleasant as it smelled. So I regularly talk about the posts that make me gag, but to be honest, they're generally reserved for medical story compilations. Congratulations, random wings orderer, you made it to the list. Yeah, can I have a Reuben sandwich but with turkey instead of corned beef, no cheese, and no 1000 islands? Can you do mayo instead? Oh, and can I get that on sourdough? Oh, and add stone ground mustard too, please. Of course. Would you still like sauerkraut on your not a Reuben? Coffee frappuccino. Half and half instead of milk, coffee filled up to 2/5 of the cup before blending, light ice, 2 shots espresso, shake ingredients and then blend it 3 times. Use half the bottle of caramel drizzle on the sides of the cup before pouring the drink in. Extra whipped cream, and then add more caramel drizzle to the top. This woman came in every day, watched you make her drink, and would force you to remake it over and over until she was satisfied. She once returned the drink for not having enough caramel drizzle. As I was remaking it, the cap blew off the drizzle bottle, and nearly the entire contents oozed into the cup. It being a frappuccino happy hour, I said, "Screw it," and gave it to her like that. She said it was the best she's ever tasted. The entire store absolutely loathed frappuccinos. I'll just throw mine on yours since it's another Starbucks customer. Venti, heavy whipping cream, 7 pumps of white mocha, 6 pumps caramel flavor, 5 shots, 4 Splenda, 3 sweet and low, extra caramel sauce drizzle, like a quarter of a bottle. She came in every single morning for this abomination, but she tipped really well, so hey, whatever. I serve food at a country club, so I deal entirely with people that have more wealth than I'll probably ever have. A lot of these people are really nice and are actually friendly. However, many are also very snobby, high maintenance, and just rude. One night I had a table. It was 2 couples on a double date, and both couples were less than friendly. One woman ordered a salmon. I can't remember the rest because this one woman was the bane of my existence. I serve them entrees and let them eat for a while before I do the typical, "How's everyone doing?" 9 times out of 10, everyone just says everything's fine and just want me to leave so they can eat. Not this lady. She calls me over and tells me she didn't think I gave her salmon. Looking at her plate, I can see the fish is pink and very clearly salmon. I've served the salmon hundreds of times. She insists I go to the kitchen and ask what fish it was. Of course it's salmon, which I return and tell her politely it's indeed salmon. She gets angry and tells me how it doesn't taste like any salmon she ever had and that she's had salmon many times and that what I served her wasn't salmon. After getting more and more angry about not having salmon, she looks me dead in the eyes and says, "This tastes like turtle." I honestly didn't know how to react, so I just asked if she was sure and she says, "Yes, I actually like it, but it isn't salmon." I'm still blown away by this woman. She got so angry with me about this mix-up. We don't serve turtle. I don't know anywhere that does, and she liked it? I don't understand these people's lives. I had someone order a side of jalapenos to be put on their burger. I bring them out, she looked at them and tells me they're green onions. They were just fresh jalapenos, and the only kind she had apparently ever seen were the pickled ones. I told her they were jalapenos, and she fought me tooth and nail over it. Made me get the manager and still didn't believe them. People amaze me. I'm no waiter, but I do work the food line at my restaurant. The weirdest thing I've seen was a lettuce-wrapped taco with only lettuce in it. A lettuce wrap is a taco shell that's made of lettuce, by the way. I used to work at a burrito joint. Someone ordered a burrito with bean juice but no beans. This one guy ordered spaghetti and meatballs at a restaurant I was a cook for, except he wanted French fries instead of spaghetti noodles. I had a friend who would always order a glass of water with no ice, with some extra lemon slices. Then he'd start making free lemonade at the table. Sometimes there weren't sugar packets at the table already, and I'd die inside when he asked the waiter for sugar packets. By the time we got our food, his warm lemonade was ready, at which point he'd ask for a glass of ice. A half rack of ribs, no sauce, well done, microwaved after taking it off the grill for 5 minutes. 8 sides of Thousand Island dressing to dip it in, broccoli, no butter, triple steamed, a sweet potato with 4 sides of sour cream, a water with no ice, and then 2 cups of ice. Then 15 minutes later decided he wanted another half rack of ribs the same way. This was a year ago, but I will never forget because he snapped at me a ton of times while I was talking to other customers. Then he had the nerve to complain to my manager because his rolls came late, but they'd just been popped into the oven and were baking when he ordered them. Screw that guy. Why is this the second order that specifically requests the freshly cooked food be microwaved? That's a crime against the culinary personnel in my mind. So gross. I once had a woman order her eggs fried hard, scrambled hard. And when I asked her if she wanted her eggs fried or scrambled, as they're 2 completely different ways of making eggs, she had no idea what I was talking about and kept repeating, "Fried hard, scrambled hard." It took some pressing from both myself and her group to figure out what she wanted. I believe it was scrambled hard. She's kept saying that she's just always ordered fried hard, scrambled hard, and didn't understand our confusion. "I bought my own tea bag. Can I have some hot water, please?" 5 minutes later, "Can I have a lemon wedge, please?" 2 minutes later, "Can I have some honey?" I hated the ones that wanted to make their own lemonade to try and avoid having to pay for it. "We'll have water. Could you bring out a cup of sliced lemons and a bunch of Splendor as well?" Not necessarily convoluted, but worked in an Indian restaurant in the UK with a kitchen staff of all Indian people, and lots of people would come in and pretty much detail exactly how they wanted their curry cooked. Like, "This is not a jalfrezi," upon being presented with their dish and then explaining to the manager how it should be cooked. I feel like I should point out these were obviously non-Indian people. I had a guy order a chicken korma but make it spicy. After much discussion, the chef agreed to put some chili into it, knowing well that the dish would be weird. A Caesar salad with no croutons, no chicken, no dressing, no bacon, and no cheese. So it was just lettuce. What the frick? Seems like it would be easier at that point to say, "I'd just like a bowl of romaine lettuce with lemon squeezed over it." A guy in front of me in the line ordered iced coffee heated up in a microwave. The barista replies, "You mean hot coffee?" To which he replies, I don't know. When I'm home, I make my coffee the night before and put it in the fridge and then microwave it the next morning." That's almost endearing. I hope the barista said something like, "Well then, prepare to have your mind blown and your coffee experience taken to the next level," and then proceeded to pour him some fresh, hot coffee. Philly cheesesteak sandwich. No cheese, no peppers, no condiments, no bread, no side of fries. She wanted to pay $16 for shredded beef with onions. My daughter was just old enough to go through a buffet alone. She wanted a slice of roast beef and heard people ahead of her ask for medium. She thought, "I'm smaller than them, so I don't need a big piece." The guy slicing off portions asked her how she wanted her beef, so she said, "small." He just silently gave her a small piece of medium-done roast beef. Eating at an Indian restaurant, I overheard a woman ordering nearby who wanted a curry but steamed veggies, no oil and no salt. No rice,
curry on the side.
I have no idea what the kitchen actually made for her. I feel like she doesn't often go to restaurants. Not so much convoluted as stupid. Our wings were breaded and he didn't seem to read that part on the menu. He sent them back because of the extra carbs and ordered a hamburger, no bun, with a side of fries. I didn't really mind this order, but it was very odd and multiple managers came to ask me about it after I put it in and laughed when I showed them. I do all of the Grubhub orders at the restaurant and someone simply ordered 4 lemonades. That's it, for $2.50 each plus the delivery fee. And the go-to drinks aren't very big, and it's just run-of-the-mill lemonade. I really wish I got to deliver the drinks to the person to see what was up with that.
You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out Easy Mode, also linked below, and subscribe.
A kid asked me for a cheeseburger, but cheese on only half the burger. So half hamburger, half cheeseburger. The parents were a little embarrassed and said I didn't have to humor him, but I liked the cut of his jib. This kid knew what he wanted. I walked the order back to the cook, explained the situation, and the whole kitchen got on board. I used to work at a Steak and Shake, and my favorite customer ever was the kid who ordered a Krabby Patty, and his parents who were silently pleading with me just to go with it. I did, and the kid lit up when he got his order, and it was adorable. When I was a kid, my mum would often do crazy things like go through the drive-thru at McDonald's and ask the people inside to open a can of tuna for her. She was on a weird self-imposed diet. Then when they opened the can of tuna, she would complain that they didn't drain the water correctly. I was just a kid, but would basically die from embarrassment in the back seat. I once had an old man send back a plate of hash browns twice because he wanted them burnt to a crisp, like completely blackened. But of course, sir. Might I also suggest sir just lies on the ground so he can shovel the ashes directly from the fireplace into his gullet? Bon appetit. Not convoluted, but I once had a guy order a pizza with no crust. Okay, like crust cut off? No, like no bread at all. What? We ended up taking a takeout container, putting in sauce, cheese, and pepperoni, heating it up, and they ate it with a spoon. It still haunts me.
People that go into length about how they can have absolutely no gluten, then moan and complain when there are no croutons on their salad.
Worked in a restaurant that took the gluten allergy really seriously. Lady says she's allergic to gluten and even a crumb will give her issues. Okay, this is a pizza place. So they cleaned the entire area, made the pizza, and brought it out to her. She loves it. Good. Came back 5 minutes later and she's trying a slice of her husband's pizza, which was not gluten-free. I told her that what she's eating isn't gluten-free, out of caution, and she said, "Well, it's not really an allergy, I just don't want it in my food." Stupid, entitled, bint. I came into a shift where the previous server already had a full section. No problem, you just explain to the guest that you're taking over and to let you know if they need anything. Everything is great, I have one mum and daughter table. The previous server had already taken the order and put it in, so I was basically there to finish them up. Their meals are good and they're enjoying everything. Time to give her the check and she goes, "For future reference, if someone tells you they're low-carbing, you don't give them dates and craisins in their salad." What the frick? The menu is literally right there and it says the salad comes with those things. Granted, I didn't take the order and still apologized to her, but Christ, if you're following a diet, it's your responsibility to be mindful for what you put into your body. We called it the Corey Special because this guy would come in every week and get the exact same thing. Large yum bowl and greens, vegan sub avocado, add cabbage and carrots, half sauce sub nori, add tempeh, no chips, sub crispy noodles on a plate, half rice sub greens. He was a super nice guy though, so no one really minded that he had the order from hell. I used to work as a waiter over the summer. Second day on the job, a group of 20 arrived who had all pre-ordered their meals a month ago for the booking, and no one could remember what they ordered. By some kind of cosmic punishment, I was the only waiter they sent to the group. This happened to me one time also. I had a sheet of paper with people's names and what they ordered for each course, but nobody was wearing name tags and people were too busy talking to listen to their names being called. Luckily, this one lady in the group asks if she can help, so I give her the paper and she starts directing me where to go based on the plates I was holding. She said that she was a waitress before when she was in college and also saw how frustrating the situation was. I brought her a drink before she left. The order itself wasn't particularly difficult, but this lady wanted weak tea, like hot water that has a tea bag put in for a very short amount of time. Simple enough, we're on the same page, right? Problem was, she didn't want me to bring her the hot water and the tea bag, she wanted me to make it for her and to do so perfectly. It took like 6 or 7 tries before she was like, "Now that is some good weak tea." The guy she was eating with was covering his face in shame for being seen with this woman. I wanted to get as far away from her as possible. Since her drink order was so annoying, I was afraid of what her food order would be. Thankfully, she didn't ask for anything special in that department, but I was half expecting to have to heat her food to a very specific temperature or something along those lines. I had a woman once come up and scream at me in front of a full house because I recommended our club sandwich to her husband and he could not finish the sandwich. She stated that I emasculated him and that they'd been coming to our business for a long time and that she couldn't believe he was being treated that way. I know that she was trying to get me to comp the sandwich, but I refused and told her that's why we offered to box food up. They never came back. I rarely, if ever, have been rude to a customer, and deep down it bothered me that I was the reason they didn't come back, but at some point you have to take a stand from being taken advantage of. A man with a hangover swore blind that the best cure for said hangover was raw steak. So he ordered raw steak and I served him raw steak and then watched as he ate that raw steak like a famished velociraptor rex. Cook a large flank steak fried in salted butter. Eat that, put on a pair of wet socks, and go to sleep. I cannot for the life of me imagine why consuming raw beef would reduce the likelihood of throwing up. Quite the opposite, actually. But you do you, my self-poisoning boozy wastrel. Worked at a steakhouse very similar to Texas Roadhouse. I had someone order a salad without lettuce. They just wanted a plate with all the different toppings around the edges. Dressing, carrots, cheese, etc. Not as crazy as others, but it still blew my mind. One customer, 2 orders. The first would be paid by card, a cheese and ham toastie with a cup of tea. The ham had to be taken out of the toastie and put in a separate bag, and the toastie had to be cut into quarters and delivered to their table. We don't do that normally. The second part was paid by cash and was a tandoori chicken baguette, cut in half, delivered in 2 separate bags, and a long black with milk and water on the side. Again, we don't do that. Greg's is a tiresome job and customers like that only make it worse. I was a cook for years, but my favorite was this. A waitress ordered a burger and said the customer wanted it between rare and medium. So I said, so they want it medium rare? She went, no, they want it between rare and medium, which initiated a 2-minute discussion between her, another cook, and myself about the fact medium rare is between rare and medium. A medium rare steak with no blood was sent back twice before we gave him a well-done steak. He said it was the best steak he'd ever had in his life. He also didn't tip. I take orders from people who want seafood steamed at my store. I work the seafood counter at a grocery store. Weekends bring the drunks out. They always take about half an hour to figure out what they want, and it always ends up being pricey. Last weekend, an intoxicated woman riding one of those scooters meant for the disabled took the cake. She had 2 toddler-sized kids in the scooter basket, and a friend walked alongside her. She had me weigh out portions of almost everything in our case. She finally settled on U2 crab legs. She wanted them seasoned and steamed. She couldn't decide what seasoning, so she just told me to mix them all and throw it in there. We have Creole, Old Bay, lemon pepper, and slap your mama. Her ticket came to $99 as those giant crab legs are about $36 a pound. She waited around while I prepared her order. When it was done and packaged, she stood up from her scooter and wobbled toward me to take her package. She said, "Woo, they smell funky. I don't want it no more." And she rode off into the night, leaving behind the vapor of cheap whiskey. I worked at TGI Fridays and waited on some insane woman. She told me she wanted the Parmesan shrimp steak. This was a popular advertised item at Applebee's at the time. I told her that we don't have that, but if she really wants it, there's an Applebee's down the street. She asked if we had anything like that. I told her we have steak and we have grilled shrimp skewers. I told her we didn't have any type of cream sauce and the food wouldn't be exactly like Applebee's. She says fine and orders that. I think everything is fine until the food is brought to her, and I kid you not, her face goes white and she looks at me like I just murdered her firstborn. She starts yelling how it's not the Parmesan shrimp steak and that the shrimp were on the side of the plate and not on the steak included. She probably ended up getting the food comped or some crap, since that's how those corporate chain places operate. She ate the whole thing anyway. You could have walked to Applebee's from her table, so either she was insane or just wanted free food. I saw more people get crazy upset about their $10 plate of garbage chain food than you would ever imagine. In short, woman orders an Applebee's menu item at a TGI Fridays. When it wasn't exactly the same, she lost her damn mind. 12 German guys spread out between 3 tables. Perfectly pleasant, though language is a bit of a barrier. They all ordered gammon and chips, cod and chips, burger and chips, etc. A low-alcohol lager each. It was a roadside restaurant. So far, so good. Then for the next hour or so, they would call me over and order another lager there, another there, and a third for this chap. I think it had something like 0.4% alcohol, and they were trying to make up for it to the level of a normal pint. Then, having eaten their meals, they wanted the same again. Only this time, one guy wanted the cod and the other wanted the chips on a separate plate. Ditto the gammon, then desserts. About half of them had a second dessert. Then they wanted to pay separately, not split the bill 12 ways. They wanted to pay for exactly what each of them had. I left the manager with them at the till. Luckily, she spoke German.
When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.